Today is the first day of this April 1983 5-day retreat. And we will work on a koan taken from the selection of the Mumonkan. The book before me being Zenkai Shibayama's Zen Comments on the Mumonkan. The koan is number 18, and the title is Tozan's 3 pounds of flax. Before starting to read and comment on the koan, let us speak a little bit about listening. There are people who have not been to retreats or may not even have been to a talk. Even if you've heard these words many times before, can you listen anew? As though you'd never heard them before. Because what you've heard before is memory. But speaking and listening is now. Can it be free of memory? Can the listening be completely open, not plugged into anything? Open without resistance? Without worrying, do I understand this? I don't understand this? Or I do understand this? This is all extra. And screens the listening. Openness means not just to the spoken word, but to what is going on inside oneself. Looking inwardly, whether something can be discerned that is in direct relationship with what is being said. Without judgment. Can judgment be suspended during a retreat? Maybe too much to ask for, but can it be detected and seen so that it doesn't cloud the mind? Or the mind clears as judgment is detected. Judgment of right or wrong, good or bad. For a talk, find the most comfortable posture. Yet even the most comfortable posture gets to be uncomfortable after a while. If it does, you can change it. Not to make a problem out of it. And yet, can it happen quietly? So there's the least amount of noise and disturbance to everyone around one. And yet not be so apprehensive about making noise that the listening is buried in apprehension. Not to make a problem out of it. Maybe it's the best way of putting it. This is how the koan reads. A monk asked Master Tozan, "What is Buddha?" Tozan said, 3 pounds of flax. In this selection of koans, the compiler, who lived several hundred years later than the incidents that he compiled, the exchanges between monks and teachers, or teachers and teachers and monks and monks. Lived around the 11th century. Tozan lived probably 200 years earlier. I'm not all up on dates. The compiler always has a commentary and then a poem, and we'll read both of those. If there's time, we will comment on both of those. So Mumon says, old Tozan studied a bit of Clam Zen, and opening the shell a little, revealed his liver and intestines. Though it may be so, tell me, where do you see Tozan? Tozan being that man who, when asked, what is Buddha, said 3 pounds of flax. Mumon calls this Clam Zen, opening the shell, and there it is, the whole thing. Liver and intestines. I don't know whether that's all there is to the inside of a clam. Probably more to it. But it's all revealed. It's all shown. And the poem says, thrust forth is 3 pounds of flax. Words are intimate. Even more so is the mind. He who talks about right and wrong is a man of right and wrong. He or she, always add the she. Instead of man, we say a person. It doesn't matter. It's you. Or is it? Are you a person of right and wrong? This question, what is Buddha? What is Buddha? Recurs over and over throughout Zen koan, Zen texts. We can translate it in many different ways. First of all, we don't know really what the monk was asking. What was his state of mind? What did he want to know? What did he want to find out? What did he want to find or learn or accomplish? Was this an intellectual inquiry, asking about the historical Buddha? Wouldn't have asked, what is Buddha? Buddha, literally translated, if I'm correct, means awakened, awake. Also heard that it means wisdom, ultimate truth, enlightenment, enlightened truth, or what is totally unconditioned. What is Buddha? One person mentioned to me, whenever she hears this word in a reading, she already gets angry and resistant. Aren't we done with this? Why still use these words? I have so many associations and I get all involved and I really fight this whole vocabulary. If one doesn't fight one, one fights another. It's just a word. Maybe this is what the monk is asking. What is this beyond words? It's just a word as any other word, and that's what we're caught up in. Whether it's the word Buddha or any other. Truth, emptiness, wholeness, enlightenment. To name just a tiny fraction of this universe of words in which we're caught. Maybe the monk is asking, show me Buddha. I've heard that every human being is Buddha or can become Buddha. Show me. What is it? Let me see it. And this man here says 3 pounds of flax. Why do you say 3 pounds of flax? The way our mind habitually works and wants to get at this is to distill the message out of this. And you can do it. You can start right in. If everything is Buddha, then everything that grows is Buddha, every grain is Buddha, and also flax is of course Buddha. And measures are Buddha, and no measures are Buddha, and 3 pounds are also Buddha, so everything is Buddha. And it's a beautiful answer. How inspiring. That he doesn't point up to an altar or to some Thangka picture of a Buddha floating on a Buddha cloud, but says 3 pounds of flax, so let's just deal with flax, not as a commodity, but as a direct pointing to something. Have you ever seen flax? I remember in Germany the few times we took a ride in a car through the country, yellow fields were pointed out to me. That this is flax, this is blooming flax. And it's a gorgeous yellow. But that's not flax. Flax, I presume, are grains. Or are they? Seeds? Like from any kind of grass? I have heard that linen is made out of flax. I've never seen one real close up. Even driving through these flax fields, nobody ever stopped, got out of the car and looked at one of those grains or whatever it is. Directly, without calling it flax and being done with it. So, what is flax? If you don't get stuck with the word and the fact that you have some idea about what it is, because that's the dangerous position in which we're in all the time. We have some idea about what something or somebody is like, and that's enough for us to talk about it, reject it, or accept it, without really being in touch with the thing itself, the person himself or herself. Someplace I've read that in olden days, at the time of Tozan, Zen teachers worked together with the monks in the fields. They were not ensconced in some office. They were really working together. Did the chores together. Maybe this particular monastery was growing flax. Maybe selling it to the villagers. Somebody made linen out of it. Maybe they made it at the monastery. Because a lot of these monasteries were self-subsistent, self-sufficient. So I read. Or selling it for whoever wanted it and needed it. Well, to sell flax, you have to garner it, harvest it, get the seeds out, if this is what we're talking about. I'm not quite sure. If you're going to sell it or trade it to someone, you have to package it and weigh it. Maybe this is what Tozan was doing. Someplace in the flax room, where the flax was stored, and maybe in piles, and a little table, a little chair, and some kind of a Chinese scale. Can't visualize it because I don't know how they weighed things. What is being conjured up here may not be so, but this is how you can enter into a koan. Not just stick with these words and try to glean and interpret a message from them, but try to see, visualize what's going on, not just with the koan, but with the story you hear about someone else. Not immediately let this drop into a slot. Yeah, you know about this person, you've heard this and that, this just really fits, it's just like him or her. And I say, let me find out some more about it. Let me really take some time to look at the situation as it was described. A lot of parts missing. I don't really know. All we have here is that the monk said, what is Buddha? 3 pounds of flax. Is that what the teacher was doing, weighing, packaging flax? Here. Where did his answer come from? Did he want to teach something to this inquiring monk? Or did he respond because there was a question? And the question and the response being not separate events. Some people who have commented or spoken about this koan have admired the speed with which the response follows the answer, follows the question. Actually, Mumon, all through the book, admires such speedy answers very much. He calls them like flint striking lightning or lightning flashing through darkness. But one must be careful not to be carried away by admiration for speed, because one can cultivate a facility to give speedy answers and then think that one has the Zen way about one. Can be learned. If it becomes a value, anything can be learned. And it means nothing except a learned, speedy answer. Maybe all these admirations and collections came much later. They did. At the time, there was no precedence. There was just the question and 3 pounds of flax coming from nowhere, from no intention. If there's intention, the answer's not free. He wants to achieve something. And when we want to achieve something, we already set up our own trap. The trap of success and failure. If we succeed, feeling mighty good about ourselves, having a good time of it, feeling undepressed for a while. As long as the feeling lasts, it goes away. And then we need to have new successes, because it's the only way we can feel ourselves in a good condition, which we crave. We want to be in a good mood, in a good condition, in a high. But then there's also failure of not achieving, and with that comes the low, the depression, the self-deprecation, self-hatred, and all the emotions and physical manifestations that go with these mind states. You may ask, how is it humanly possible to respond to a question without wanting to achieve a result? At least the result of being in the know, of having an answer. It's awfully embarrassing if somebody asks one a question one doesn't know. Because that's always been embarrassing all our life. In school, we were dumb if we didn't know. Dumb in comparison to all the other kids who had an answer, who at least were trying, as it is often put by teachers. Of course, at home to say, I don't know, it's never been an acceptable answer, an acceptable statement. Tozan could have said, I don't know. Saying 3 pounds of flax, is that any different? No intention, no wanting, no message, no teaching. Just this. Look at it. Can you see it? Can you hear it? Not as something that you know or interpret, but just as it is. On a later page, Shibayama says, this mondo means this exchange, this dialogue, has a sequel, though it is not recorded in the Momontan. The questioning monk to whom Tozan answered 3 pounds of flax later called on Master Chimon and asked, what is the true significance of Master Tozan's answer, 3 pounds of flax? In which it appears that he did not understand. There was no immediate understanding. He didn't want to ask Tozan back, what's the true significance? It was such an ultimate thing, such a final thing. That was it. He was sort of felt shut up. He went to somebody else. Asking, what's the meaning of this answer? Please help me. I want to understand this. It doesn't leave me any peace. When something doesn't leave you any peace, to how many people do you go to ask for an answer? Before you ask this question yourself. Not knowing the answer, not demanding the answer from anybody else, but sitting on this question, come hell or high water. Whatever your question may be, what is the meaning of my life? Or what is me? Or who am I? Why do I act in this incomprehensible, habitual, pattern-programmed way, day in and day out, totally powerless? Why? In reply to this, Master Chinmon said, in reply to the question, what is the true significance of Tozan's 3 pounds of flax? And Chinmon said, flowers in abundance, brocade in brilliance. Then he asked the monk, do you understand? When the monk confessed that he did not, Chinmon further remarked, bamboos in the south, trees in the north. On his return to Tozan's monastery, the monk reported to the master what Chinmon had said. Tozan took the rostrum, saying, I will talk not to you alone, but to all the monks on the subject. And he gave the following kind of instruction. It is impossible to express exactly the reality of things in words, and to show correctly the truth of inner spirituality in language. It'd be good to know what the Chinese word of inner spirituality is, because that itself is such a loaded word. We hear that and we already shiver in wanting that inner spirituality, to be a person of spirituality, to have that. It sounds so good. What is inside except words and ideas and wanting that? If one doesn't fall for that, but questions, one might find there is nothing inside. No thing. Nothing to give one an identity on which to rest. That's what happens. As soon as we have an identity, we rest on that. Now we are someone. We may not spell it out like that, but we act that way. It gives us respite from this gnawing feeling of maybe being nobody. Nothing. Which doesn't mean abandoning the world or the job or the family, but working at home, in the office, wherever, as nobody. Not trying to, as one works, also fill that inner emptiness with something, with an identity. I'm this now, I'm good. Or, what is the same thing, I'm terrible. One person recently told me, very openly, very honestly, all the games he's playing, all the things that go on in his mind about, I can't even repeat it. Feelings of helplessness, not being on top of things like everybody else seems to be, and how like everybody else seems to try to convey how on top of everything they are, and this person saying, no, I'm not on top of it at all, and proceeding to say how he was not on top of it, playing games, this and that. But this too is an identity. It's the same thing. It's the other side of the same coin. Trying to be something positive or negative, up or down, good or bad, in the eyes of someone else. Why do we do that? Why does it give us such a sense of security? You may say, well, it doesn't give me a sense of security. But well, then why do we do it? Why this habit? Do you see that it is a habit? Let us repeat what Tozan said to everybody after this answer came back to him about bamboos in the south, trees in the north. It's impossible to express exactly the reality of things in words and show correctly the truth of inner spirituality in language. If you keep on clinging to words, you will lose your true self. If you cling to letters and are not able to transcend them, your spiritual eye will never be opened. Do you hear this? Now does spiritual I and true self become a concept after which one strives? Again away from what is sitting right here in all its unspirituality and untrue selfness? Not again as an idea, we just talked about that, but as one is. This idea is set up so quickly, so easily when one does this kind of work, that there must be something spiritual, refined, esoteric, true, that is away from what's happening here right now. The image of the other shore to which I must cross. And this may all be just images, not representing a correct reality. So can one drop them? Is it possible? Or is one already so attached to it? Like a vine to the tree. Who am I? Who? This instant. This instant of fear or anger, boredom, nausea. Right here, right in the midst of that. What? Attending, without knowing, without words, without the push of words or the lure of words, the security of words. In the commentary, Mumon says, old Tozan studied a bit of Clam Zen. And opening the shell a little revealed his liver and intestines. Though it may be so, tell me, where do you see Tozan? That Clam Zen is an interesting metaphor. Clam, when it's shut, tight. That's how we live most of the time, shut tight in our little shell. In our shell of problems, of fears, anguish, anxiety about what we don't really know, because we've never faced it directly. We've always run away from it. Inside that shut clam. And of course our hopes and ideals and fond imaginings of the future happening, also all inside that shut clam, that shut shell. Here, in referring to Tozan's Clam Zen, maybe it means not saying any more words than are necessary. Not opening the mouth any more than is necessary. It's a very typical way of Zen teaching. Just one word shouts, or not even a word, but a hit, a kick, or a yell or something. Now this here is called opening the shell a little bit, just a little bit. 3 pounds of flax. The Mumon says, everything is revealed. Sitting in the retreat with all that comes up, inside, outside. Does one keep it shut off, hidden? I don't want it. I don't want to deal with that. It's too painful. It may overwhelm me. Or does the clam, the shell, open up so that everything is revealed for what it is? not for a significance behind it. Things are what they are. Fear is fear. Pain is pain. And pain is also not pain when we don't call it that. When we don't react to it in our habitual, programmed, conditioned ways. What is it? What is a backache if I don't know what it is? And I don't. That's the truth. It's there. But what is it? I don't know it. It's something entirely bearable because it's unknown. What is unbearable is to paint out all the consequences of something. It's how this is going to turn out, how it was last time. I remember very well. It became worse and worse and worse. And thinking that is painful. It's also painful because one is not with the pain itself, in the raw, directly, intimately, with no shell dividing one or closing anything off. Open, flowing, like having all the windows open, breeze blowing through. It says here that though this may be so, meaning Tozan revealing everything in this answer, not in the answer, in himself, not hiding anything. Woman says, where do you see Tozan? On a little throne, little clouds around him. It happens, don't laugh. We do it all the time. There are several stories to this effect that some yogi or disciple of the Buddha would attain this incredible state of Samadhi and sit in this state of Samadhi so that the golden rays were going all over and deities would shower flowers and the birds would bring offerings to this Samadhi being. And then one day, one wonders what happened, the deities did not shower flowers anymore and the birds did not bring any more offerings because they didn't find that one. Nowhere is to be found. No identity with what one is doing, with one's bliss, or clarity, or purity, or what have you, spirituality. Sekida, in his notes on this particular koan, writes about a similar story, where a Zen teacher, his name was also Tozan, wasn't this Tozan, was never visible to the deity, to a guardian deity. But the guardian deity wanted to see that Tozan, have a good look of him, a good look at him. So what this guardian deity did was scatter some grains of rice in the courtyard of the monastery. And as Tozan walked across, he said, "Who the hell was so inattentive as to scatter these rice grains?" And he became visible. to the deity. The woman says, where do you see Tozan? Where do you see yourself? In your projection chamber up here? In your movie room? With all these constant, instant flashbacks of what we're doing, where we are, how we're progressing or how we're retrogressing. This constant monitoring that's going on of ourselves, which, annoying as it may be or upsetting, it is also safe, because then we know where we are. We don't lose track of ourselves. And we're afraid of losing track of ourselves. Do you realize that? Do you notice that in sitting? Always, every once in a while, needing to know, where am I? Am I here? How am I doing? Am I doing all right? Who or moo? Can that cut right through that and not hang on to that? Really not knowing who and what you are, who and what Tozan is, who or what the Buddha is, what anything is, other than words, and you'll not be satisfied with words. Here in the poem it says, thrust forth as 3 pounds of flax, or this, or nothing, or just muahu, or not knowing. Listen. The verse says, words are intimate, but much more so is the mind that is wordless, that is undivided, that is just there. Talking about right and wrong, you're a person of right and wrong, lost in judgment. People say that if I hear you talk like this, that all I can do is judge the fact that I'm judging all the time. So where do I go from there? See it. See that you judge the judgment. At one point, you're going to tire of that if you really attend. And there'll just be tick, 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 tick. Do you think the dog shouldn't be there? It may not even be a dog. It isn't. It's pit, 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 pit. What do you do with that? We'll end here for today.